NVIDIA is down $325 billion Monday morning. Apple's down $300 billion, Google down $200 billion, Amazon down $135 billion, Microsoft down $125 billion, Meta down $80 billion, Tesla down $60 billion. A bunch of those stocks get people's money automatically. If you're on an electronic trading platform, it's about 40% of people's money goes to Apple, Google, Microsoft, I think Amazon, automatically. And it's down. That's huge. We haven't seen a 1,000-point drop in the stock market in a long time. But you guys, cat lady and cat women, that's the focus of the people who run Cami Harris. Can we do a slight comparison and maybe even bring into this what J.D. Vance has actually said about women and families and policy? Could we try that? Be an interesting experiment. Today is the day the Lord has made, and these are the times through which God has decided we shall live. And it's times such as these that we want to take a little bit of a comparison. Whataboutisms and side-by-side comparisons are very, very useful. Donald Trump had said, if you elect Joe Biden, the stock market will crash. We're watching it crash. There's a whole ton of people. In fact, I got an email from someone this morning saying, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Zach Abraham was right. He comes on our program every Friday and talks about the stock market and other things. He's Chief Investment Officer of Know Your Risk Radio at Bulwark Capital Management, knowyourriskradio.com. A lot of people are going, wait, so he was right. This was going to happen. Sure, because all this is predicated upon fake value. What do I mean by that? Well, if you look at the stock market, you look at Tesla, here's something that most people don't know. And it makes absolutely no sense. With the value of Tesla going up, what didn't go up? The value of the internal parts of the Tesla, the precious metals it takes to create Teslas, that didn't go up. As NVIDIA was going up and people were buying NVIDIA because people were buying NVIDIA, which led to more people buying NVIDIA because more people were buying NVIDIA. As that was all going on, you know what was not going up? Any of the companies that NVIDIA needs to stay in business didn't have the same meteoric rise because it was all based upon falsehoods. Falsehoods tied to emotion. And emotion is the fastest and easiest way to sell bad ideas in the modern world. We can compare this to cat lady. The upsetting words that J.D. Vance used to describe women without kids. And it was a stupid and unforced error. It was. I'm sorry. It was a bad phrase. It's a hurtful phrase. There's a rule in politics people should know. The people you seek to hurt rhetorically, they need to be special people you hurt rhetorically. I'll explain that. It's important to know the difference. If you're young, you don't yet know the pain that's coming your way if you're active. You don't. When I go work out with young guys, one of the things I first stress to them is please, please, please take an old man's example and care for the tiny little muscles and care for your joints. A lot of times I get blank stares like, bro, my joints are fine. They are, but you are putting a ton of impact on them. I had a conversation with a guy my age. He found it out. He had to have a hip replacement. A little younger than me, his life has been spent in construction and falling trees and climbing them and logging. Man, real hard work. There are steps you, as a young person, can take, and those of us who are of a certain age can take to help protect our joints. I use Native Path Collagen. It is scientifically backed to increase bone mineral density and to accelerate tissue recovery. Now, that's the core reason I use it. It also, though, helps to reduce wrinkles and enhance hair thickness, strengthen weak or damaged nails. If you're young, you may not think about those things, but your hair is thinning every single day. One of the things Native Path does that makes them special is they only use type 1 and 3 collagen. Why does that matter? Why waste time with type 2? Type 1 and 3 are found in 90% of our body, like our cartilage, our bones, skin, hair, nails. And it helps refresh the muscles, recover, as I said. They've sold 4 million jars of collagen to over 1 million happy customers. They will do this for you. Right now, when you visit getnativepath.com/Todd, you can stock up on Native Path Collagen for up to an incredible 45% off, plus get free shipping. Every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it risk-free. The website, again, is getnativepath.com/Todd for up to 45% off. Getnativepath.com/Todd. The people that you hurt rhetorically in politics need to be other politicians. Do not ever turn fire on voters. Don't use the words stupid, deplorable. Don't do that. J.D. Vance stepped on that rule when he talked about cat ladies.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children.
I understood what he's saying. You understood what he's saying. And maybe if you're talking about your dear old aunt, a cat lady can be a funny thing, but it's not a funny thing to women without kids. And it allowed people like Chelsea Handler to come and take this and run rage videos about it. It was an unforced error. J.D. Vance is a brilliant man. He might be the smartest, the most high bandwidth intellectually vice presidential candidate we've had in a long time, if not in history. He's also a great mix of action and thought. He served our country in war, and he went to Harvard. He wasn't supposed to get into Harvard. After all, he's a hillbilly. How did he get into Harvard? This is hillbilly J.D. Vance talking about the issue of anti-child policies. So what are anti-child policies? Here he is talking about it without using the phrase cat lady.
The best way to invest in it is to ensure the next generation actually exists. So I think sending those signals via policy, but the cultural messaging of politicians is important. I also think, just to be a little stark about this, I think we have to go to war against the anti-child ideology that exists in our country. Mm-hmm. A few weeks ago, no, Twitter is not real life, but I forget even what caused it, but there was this ridiculous effort by millennial feminist writers to talk about why having kids was not a good thing, why they were glad they didn't have kids, and even encouraging people who had had children to talk about why they regretted having children, which of course is like
Mother's Day hook.
On Mother's Day, which is like psychologically deranged to ask mothers on Mother's Day to talk about why they regretted having children. And what it made me realize is that so much of what drives elite culture is mediocre millennial journalists who haven't gotten out of their career what they thought they would, right? And the thing is, everybody can be an exceptional mother and father. Not everybody can be an exceptional journalist at the New York Times. And not enough people have accepted that if they put their entire life's meaning into their credential, into where they went to school, into what kind of job they have, if you put all of your life's meaning into that, you're going to be the sort of person who asks women to talk about how they regret having children. You're going to be a sad, lonely, pathetic person, and you're going to know it internally, so you're going to project it onto people who have actually built something more meaningful with their lives. I think we have to go to war against that ideology and the people behind it, because we need to say to the people in my hometown, I've seen this with, just to be honest, with my sister. I love my sister is just the best person. I love her to death. And sometimes, she'll say things to me like, maybe I should have delayed having kids. Maybe I should have went to school. Maybe I should have did this or that. And it's like, Lindsay, you've been a great mom. Your children are happy. They're healthy. You've taken good care of them. You've shown me, she was my older sister. She took care of me a lot in a very chaotic home. People like my sister should not feel like the cultural messaging is your life is inadequate. The people who are sending that message should feel that their life is inadequate. And of course they do. They're just too ashamed about it to talk about it.
So saying it without cat lady is still talking about people finding emptiness in life by putting all of their self-worth into something that they do for profession or something they achieve a degree. It's wise. And it goes back to something we've talked about on the program, and that is permanent identity, a strong base of identity. J.D. Vance is talking about rhetoric that is anti-child. Anti-child is what? It's anti-life. It's anti-human. You cannot have anti-child policies and be pro-human. But the world's drowning in people. It's not. We're seeing Europe get to a point where it's not replacing itself with children. And look at the consequence. The decision to rush in tons of what they call migrants, which are actually just illegal immigrants because they're just allowed to pour across the border, not doing it bit by bit, not introducing slowly, not choosing people who want to go respect Europe's laws. Look what we've seen in the UK. Look what we're seeing in Ireland. We're watching people who've never protested in their lives show up at police stations to protest houses being given to illegal immigrants over the native population. This was inevitable. And at some later date, we'll talk about how thrilled Karl Marx would be. Karl Marx, who loved Satan. Karl Marx, who wrote rhapsodically about burning the earth down. It's good old-fashioned communism and organizing that's driving this is divide and conquer. And it began with anti-child policies. And governments waking up saying, wait a minute, who are we governing? We don't have a tax base. We don't have a worker base. We really screwed this up. Open the tap, let everybody in. That's not a reasonable policy. You wouldn't do that in your home. We need help. Open the doors, let all comers in. No, you would check to see who's coming in. When J.D. Vance talks about people who find themselves dissatisfied with life because they based it upon a degree or a job, something they've achieved, he's touching upon this thing that we talked about in the show. That is, the broader the base of your identity, the more solid you are as a human being. One design of the left that is so brilliant is to whittle people down into one slim, tiny, shrill, breakable piece of themselves as their identity. This is purposeful. You make it the precious. So I know people who will say, first thing out of their mouth, I'm a gay man. Then I have friends and family members who are same-sex attracted, and you wouldn't know it. I mean, you might eventually see them with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, then you might go, oh. But it is not the most important part of themselves. I've got family members who identify as the opposite sex. You might not know that, although I think you probably would. Very, very pretty people. Very pretty. I think you would know. But you know what you would not get? A lecture. You know what would be incidental? That. You would hear about their interests in the environment and architecture and art and sports and music and family, 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 family. Long before you'd hear about that because they have a base of identity. That gives that identity as the opposite sex an opportunity to go away because it's not that what defines them. The left takes things like sexual identity and race and makes it you. I am black rather than I have black skin. I am black rather than my ancestors come from Africa. There is a difference. Your ancestors coming from Africa is something on which you can base an identity because there are tribal cultures. There's a country's culture. There's a continent's culture. There's music, there's literature, there's art, there's behaviors, there's philosophies. Skin color is shrill, tiny, small. The left takes this with sexual identity. I am a gay man. I am a lesbian woman. That's what I am. Versus I am artist, creator, mother, brother, sister, worker, philanthropist, volunteer, and I happen to be same-sex attracted. Likewise with single, childless women. I'm a single woman. You're a woman not in a relationship. What else are you? You're made by God in his image. Every hair on your head counted. Every hair counted before you were born. God knew who you were and knew who you would be. See, that base, that identity, when it's based upon I am a child of God Almighty, and this is what we do when we're Christians and we've accepted the Lord Jesus, we've agreed to be changed by him, we've signified that through baptism, we allow ourselves to be sanctified, which ain't always fun, by the way. The sanctification process is usually less fun than the baptism, a lot less fun, because it's a pruning. God taking from us things that don't bear good fruit so that we can bear more good fruit. But when we base our identity on I am a child of God, what does that mean? Made by the Creator. What does that mean? In his image. What does that mean? Masterpiece. Every hair on my head counted. What does that mean? God had a design for me. wonderfully and awesomely made, or wonderfully and fearsomely made in my mother's womb. By whom? By God. Why? Because of a purpose. What was that purpose? To work with him, to work with the creator of the universe, to help establish his kingdom on earth. That's a heck of a job title. And incidental to that is my daily job title. Hey, I'm a professor. Oh, I work in retail. Well, how do you spread the word of God working in retailers, build the kingdom working in retail? You know what I do? I share the gospel with everyone I meet, and sometimes occasionally I use words. I'm kind. I'm curious about people. Their full identity, not the, hey, do you call your skin color black or caramel? Are you a caramel? Hey, are you a cracker, a salted cracker? Or are you more of a white biscuit? It's racism. J.D. Vance shouldn't have said cat lady, because when he talks about ideas and he does it this way, he displays an intellect that's really important for us to respect. God has given him a great intellect. For those of us who'd like our country back, the greatest consolation prize ever in comparison to getting souls back. We should hope that J.D. Vance advances that intellect and advances humility, allowing God to work through him. And here's why. If President Trump makes it through and he gets into the White House, makes it through attempts to stop him, you know what I mean, right? I mean, I can't talk about that here because this might end up on, YouTube. But if Donald Trump makes it into the White House, he'll have 4 years. J.D. Vance could have 8. So stop saying cat lady. Please don't attack the electorate. Aim fire at journalists, fair game. Aim rhetorical fire at colleagues, opponents, political enemies, fair game. But please find a way to speak truth wrapped in grace, like I think you did towards the end of your clip. These are the days through which God has made, meaning he trusts us to live through these times, meaning he designed you for today. Please go with God's good grace.